We thank you all for being here for this Lunch and Learn focused on our Latinx ministries in the Synod and some of the traditions that our Latinx congregations celebrate in this Synod. And so we thank you for being here. My name is Josh Ebener. I'm the pastor of St. Andrew San Andres Lutheran Church in West Chicago, and the coordinator for our Latinx strategy in the Synod, at least for a couple more weeks. Be transitioning next year, but happy to do this before I leave with my friend and colleague, Pastor Maria Rojas from Unidad, Misión Luterana Unidad. That's the Unidad Lutheran Mission in Berwyn. So a pleasure to be with you all, and we're representing our Latinx strategy today and discussing some of the traditions that we celebrate. So our Latinx strategy in the Synod is comprised of 8 congregations and missions that are of Latinx heritage and Spanish speaking. And so we meet on a monthly basis, and we're always looking for other congregations that would like to collaborate and share. So this, I think, is a great opportunity to do that today. And so many of our congregations have growing Latinx demographics in their community, and maybe looking at ways to connect with their community. So very good. With that, I'm going to go ahead and introduce Pastora Maria Rojas, and pastor of Misión Luterana Unidad.
Thank you, Pastor Judge. Good afternoon, everyone. Like Pastor just said, I'm here to share a little bit of our Latinx traditions, but I would like to share with you that I am from Mexico. And this is very important for me to share because Latinx culture is rich. It's with many people coming from many different places. And so what I'm going to share with you today, what we're going to share with you, it has a lot more from the Mexican culture, but not to say that all Latinx is the same. We come from a very rich background, and we will have many different traditions, and that we hope that as we continue moving with this Lunch and Learn, we can bring other siblings to share with us from Venezuela, from Puerto Rico, from Honduras, from Nicaragua, because at the Chicago Synod, we have a rich Latinx heritage community. There is just this workshop will not be enough. So I want to share the menu of what we're going to share today. Pastor Judge and I is more about the Mexican tradition, because I am from Mexico. 80% of Misión Luterana Unidad is Mexican. And the other percentage, we have white people. We also have Puerto Rican, Honduras, Cuba, and so Guatemala. And so it's different, Colombian. And so it's different. And so the Latinx community is in many different countries in Latin America. So we cannot say that by sharing this with you, you're gonna know everything about the Latinx culture. It's just a tiny little bit, maybe 1% of what the richness that we have. But I wanna say welcome for being here. Welcome for the opportunity to learn a little bit more of what our culture is all about. So I am from Mexico, like I said before. My community is LGBTQ community, Latinx, so it's a little twist there. So LGBTQ, Latinx, Spanish-speaking mission. I am a mission developer, and I'm developing this community in Berwyn, Illinois. So before we start, we would like, Gabi, for you people to see a video of our of one tradition that we have. We celebrate All Saints, Dia de los Muertos. And this is a Mexican tradition. And let me just give you a little bit of the background of that. This tradition comes from Mexico, and this tradition comes from the Aztec people, indigenous people in Mexico. They love to celebrate the life of their loved ones, and there are many ways. So there is one day that we pick, November 1st is for all the children that passed away. November 2nd is for all the adults and everybody who has passed away. And we dedicate those days to remember their lives, to celebrate their lives, to share their stories that they share with us, or that the things that we live together. So it's a beautiful, and the Aztecs used to do this with big altars and flowers, and I'm pretty sure you have seen Coco. So when the conquistadores came to Mexico with Christ, they wanted to, how do we come together? And so this is a mixture of two things. So Christianism and the culture of the Aztecs and the other indigenous came together. I want to say that I am from Guanajuato, that part where the Day of the Dead was born, and the people speak Huichol and many other languages, and so I am part of that. I was born there, so it's very embedded in me as a Mexican and indigenous person. So I wanted to share that with you, and I want to introduce this with a video that Gabby has for us.
Hi, just bear with me. I'm going to share a video that I created, and I'll take this opportunity to just say that if you ever have a story or anything going on in your congregation that you love to share, please let me know so I can also create these beautiful videos to share in the future. So just one moment. I wonder if my internet's being a little funky right now. No, María, si quieres seguir adelante mientras yo veo qué pasa con el video. Deja.
I also want to say that if you have any question as we go through this presentation, feel free to put your questions in the chat, and we will be happy to answer at the end of our presentation. But while Gaby's working on the video, maybe is it possible for Pastor Judge to put the slides in the meantime so we can go over with that, Gaby?
Sí.
So let me just talk about a little bit about All Saints or Day of the Dead. It's a celebration, like I said before, that we celebrate on November 1st and November 2nd, and we celebrate the life of our loved ones. Here in Unidad, we do two altars, one inside of the church and one outside of the church. The one outside of the church is to invite the community to come and celebrate the love and the life of their loved ones, and also the one inside. I want to say that we put offerings. That's our altar of this year. We put the pictures of our loved ones, and then we put their things that they liked to eat, just to remember and to be able to share the foods that they like. You know, we like to party with food all the time, so that's part of our heritage too. So we bring the food, we bring the mementos or things that they really loved. If they have a teddy bear or if they had a particular thing that they like to do, that's something they will put in the altar. And it's an opportunity to bring the family together, to bring the children together, and to talk about that item and to talk about that person and celebrate that life. We also like to light a candle because we believe that Christ is the light of the world. And as when we present a candle to our loved ones, is that we want them to be in light and in the light that they brought to our lives when they were with us. So it's a beautiful celebration. And like I said, it's very Mexican celebration, very lovely. Our community unity and unidad will come together. And even though it's a Mexican tradition, the people from Unity have welcomed this tradition, and we all do it together on All Saints Sunday. We celebrate together, but November 1st or November 2nd is always for the Latinx community to celebrate outside of the church. Pastor Josh, would you like to share anything?
Yeah, I think similar to Pastora Maria and at St. Andrew, here we have the ofrenda that we put up in the worship space along that to coincide with that Sunday of All Saints. And I think that is a connection for our folks that, you know, as Pastor Maria was saying, it's a good connecting point with our Anglo community, as well as they've also will put up the pictures of their loved ones and light a candle, and it really is a beautiful tradition.
We can watch the video at the end if we are able to do so. But I would like to go to the next slide because we're right in this week. We're gonna celebrate. We're gonna have a celebration in honor of Our Lady of Guadalupe. And so I want to say a little bit of the history of what the celebration of Our Lady of Guadalupe is, so that we can have an understanding of what it is, especially as Lutherans. So Mexico was built for many, many different tribes, indigenous people, from many different ones. It was about 10 million people that lived in different civilizations. And probably you have heard about some of them: Aztecs, Maya, Huicholes, many different that I don't have all of them in my mind. So all these civilizations were there when the people from Europe came. And when they came, they killed about 8 million of these people. So many civilizations were destroyed, disappeared. And so when the European people came to take the gold, to take the land, to kill the people, also people from Europe came with Christianity. And so it was these two different groups trying to work together, one taking and one trying to bring Christ into it. And so people felt they couldn't be slaves because the people from Europe really need these indigenous to teach them how to survive in this new land. So it was a lot of people didn't want to become Christian because they didn't feel that they were really being welcomed into God's kingdom just because of all the destruction. So so in the 1500s, 1531 to be exact, there was this indigenous man called Juan Diego. This is the story. And so he was walking, his language was Nahuatl. He was learning Spanish as a second language, but his language was Nahuatl, and that was the language of the Aztecs. So as he was walking, a woman appeared to him that looked like indigenous woman. This is Virgin of Guadalupe. So she was dark skinned, she was dressed like indigenous with the colors of the indigenous people, and she spoke Nahuatl. And she said to him, "Come and listen to my son. You are loved by Jesus Christ." So imagine indigenous who were being destroyed, who their lives were taken away, suddenly have somebody who looks like them, speak like them, speak the language of their heart, and invite them to come in and know Christ. So that's why Mexicans, many people will not go to church, but every Mexican will say, "I am Guadalupano." And it's not just because we want to, because Virgin of Guadalupe is an idol. No, but it's a symbol of freedom. It's a symbol of welcoming. It's a symbol of God love us too, because God speaks our language. So it's more deeper than what we may see on the surface. So it's a big celebration. I am, like I said, from the Misión Luterana Unidad LGBTQ community. 80% of my congregation is also lesbian women. And they really believe and they feel that their voice is heard through Our Lady of Guadalupe. So it's not just, it's just not, it's a symbol for us, but it's also a door that opened the door to indigenous people to come and be part of Christ's family. So that's very important to understand. So we do celebrate it. We like to celebrate with food. We like to celebrate with music. We'd like to celebrate happy that God has opened the door to us, that we are important to God as well as anybody else. So what we do in Misión Luterana Unidad, we have a special service. We will have it this Monday. You will be welcome to come. This is a little commercial. We will have it at 5:30 in Misión Luterana Unidad. We're going to start Sunday, the 11th, making tamales, because remember, food is very important in the Latinx culture. We cannot go anywhere without food. We need food. So we will make the tamales. And if you want to learn how to make tamales, come over at 1 o'clock and we will make tamales together. We will not eat them that day. We will eat them the next day. So the next day we'll have our service at 5:30. We will have music. The mariachi is coming. Yes, we're having mariachi. And then we will go and we will have Aztec dancers to dance for the people. So it's part of the culture, it's the richness that we have. So we celebrate Our Lady of Guadalupe as a symbol and as a door that opened the doors to this community, to indigenous community, to Mexican community, to Latinx community, to come into our relationship with Christ. So that's what we do in Misión Luterana Unidad. Pastor Josh?
Gracias, Pastora. Yeah, you know, for our congregation as well, it's predominantly Mexican heritage, and so we celebrate, and this is one of the biggest days in the year for us. And the church fills up. We, on the night of the 11th, will celebrate Las Mañanitas, which is singing happy birthday to La Virgen. And so it's a lot of singing, and then they're right before midnight, and then by the time we're done, it's the 12th, and so it's like a welcoming her feast day in that sense. And so it's a lot of singing. We also have food. This begins the season where I typically gain about 10 or 15 pounds. So getting ready for that. But we also on the 12th, we'll have a worship service in the evening at 7 o'clock. So that's kind of how we celebrate it here. I will say that we, you know, for us, it's very important having her image in our worship space. And it has been, as we, with our Anglo members over time, there has been some, you know, conversations that we need to have. I know when I started my ministry here, there was some tension there, and so we've done a lot of education, and that's why I think this is important, what we're doing here today. And we saw what happened about a year ago in the Sierra Pacific Synod, and so I think that education is really important, and for our community, that's what we've tried to do. But having her image in our worship space is really a sign of welcome to in our community. So.
And like I said before, if you have any questions or if you want to have a deeper conversation about this, you have questions, we also have resources, books, and I'll be happy to talk to you or to answer any questions that I can. And I'm pretty sure Pastor Judge too. So feel free to write it in the chat so that we can answer. And if anybody needs any resume or anything in Spanish, si alguien necesita algo en español, también déjenoslo saber en el chat. Así de esa manera nosotros le podemos también contestar en español o dar un pequeño resumen de lo que estamos diciendo en español. Así que con toda confianza, déjenos saber en el chat si necesitamos hacer esto también en español o si continuamos de esta manera. So I'm just saying to the people that speak Spanish, if they need us to do anything in Spanish or to say anything in Spanish, to write it in the chat and we will be happy. Pastor Josh and myself will be happy to answer their questions or just to share this information also in Spanish. Can we go to the next one, Pastor Josh? Mm-hmm. So what's coming next? Las Posadas. I'm so very excited. I also want to repeat again, Las Posadas is a Mexican tradition, but there are people from Colombia, they have something different. They call it, I think, I don't know, I don't want to say names, but someone call it parrandas, and it has different names and different activities that they do during this time. But for Mexicans, we do Posadas. What is a Posada? A Posada is the journey of Joseph and Mary before Jesus was born. So we react these activities that Joseph and Mary did, and we do it for 9 days, starting on the 16th, finishing on the 24th. And in Mexico, the way they do it is each day they go to a different house. Of course, here we have the winter and it's a little bit more difficult, but here in Unidad, I do it. I go to different houses of the congregation. I think it's a great opportunity to do evangelism and to learn together about the journey of Joseph and Mary. And of course, we always have the Bible in our hand, and we do each day according to the Gospels, how this happened. And we will have a little reflection, and it's a good opportunity to know the true meaning of Christmas, no? Jesus coming to us. So we celebrate in the homes, but we have one big posada that we celebrate in the church. This one is going to take place on Saturday, December 17, Unity and Unidad in the community. And if you want to come, you're welcome. We will have a posada, and what we do is just this reacting of Joseph and Mary. We have music, and there is a moment that Pastor Josh will explain in more detail about the singing back and forth. We go into the sanctuary, we read the gospel, we explain to the children, we explain to the grown-ups, we have a little reflection, and then we go, and guess what? We eat again. If we have tamales, we will eat tamales, we will eat champurrado, which is something made with corn and chocolate, and pozole, and very delicious food that the people will bring, and we will have a piñata. And I'm pretty sure that many of you have had a piñata somewhere in a birthday. But let me tell you what the piñata is all about. The piñata is really a symbol of the Posadas. It's part of the Posadas. So the piñata is the shape of a star. And so how do you hold the picos, Pastor Josh?
Like the spikes?
The spikes. Each spike represents the sin. So some of the piñata will have 5 spikes, or there will have 7 spikes, but those represent the sins. And then the stick that you hit it with represent faith. So we break the piñata with our faith. We break the sins with our faith. And then once it's broken, all the candy that come out is the gift of God. So God will always give us something good, the candies, right? So we break the piñata with faith. That faith is the only thing that is going to help us to destroy sin, because we will not destroy sin without faith. So that's the meaning of the piñata. And of course, then people start changing this in birthdays, and they have other pictures like Superman, Spider-Man, or whatever. That doesn't have anything to do with the true meaning of what a piñata is. So in every posada, we have a piñata because we want to destroy those sins, and we want to receive Christ, right? So we need to grow our faith. Not with violence, but that's what happens. We break the piñata with faith. With faith, we break those spikes of sin. So, and I let Pastor Josh explain what he does in San Andres. But if you want to come to our Posadas, just put it in your calendar. December 17, 5:30, come to Unidad. We will have champurrado and tamales for sure. But also we will have a little reflection about what is to be preparing for Jesus to come to us. Pastor Josh?
That's great. Yeah, I think these celebrations are really a beautiful are expressions, beautiful expressions of the Christmas time and the Advent time. And I think for Our Lady of Guadalupe as well, it fits so nicely in the Advent story, as we're also thinking a lot about Mary, and we're going to hear this week the Magnificat, and so and that's part of the connection. Again, I think we make with our folks as well that may not be familiar with these traditions in our congregations, but have come to learn about them and celebrate them as well. It's been a beautiful thing to see some of our Anglo members as well open their homes for Posadas as well. And we have a few of the Posadas that will be in other congregations as well. And so that's a neat way for other folks to experience and to celebrate these traditions. And yeah, so for us at St. Andrew, we do all 9 nights in homes and in churches, and then that leads us to our final Posada, which will be December 23rd, and that's always at St. Andrew, and of course you're all invited to that one as well at 7 o'clock on the 23rd at St. Andrew, West Chicago. We'll have, and that's the picture you see here to your left is one of our Posadas at the church that we've had. So in that, we have our folkloric dance troupe that usually provides, that does pastorela for that as well, which is, what is the word in English now? Pastorela. Basically like a Christmas play, right? So yeah, so and then each Posada, and obviously the last couple of years we weren't able to celebrate them, but this is I think going to be great that we get to go back. Obviously having a lot of people packed in a house wasn't for the last 2 years safe thing to do, but getting back into that, and so that's usually what we will have, lots of people packed into a house. And as Pastora Maria said, we will, since we're in Chicago, we'll do it all inside, but right at the entrance there is where we do that first song, which is a call and response. We have half the people that are the peregrinos, which is the pilgrims with Mary and Joseph. We usually have 2 youth that are holding the statues of Mary and Joseph and playing the role, so they're outside, right? And then we have the posaderos, which are the innkeepers on the inside, and so that song just goes back and forth, basically saying, here we are, will you let us in? You know, the holy pilgrims, and then the posaderos saying, no, we won't let you in. What if you're a thief? You know, and it goes back and forth until finally the posaderos let the peregrinos in. And so that's really, as Pastora Maria mentioned, the heart of these posadas is themes of hospitality and welcome, and certainly related to welcoming the stranger, a very big theme in the Bible, of course, and for us as we think about themes such as immigration. And so there's a lot of connecting points there as well. How do we welcome folks? So yeah, that's a little bit about how we celebrate at San Andres as well.
Yeah, and so this is very important for our communities of immigrants, because we do connect with the story of Joseph and Mary as immigrants will come to the United States knocking doors. So it's deep in the community. The community likes to celebrate. It's something to that is really connecting with the culture and with the community. And it's very great lessons. So even if you are not part of this culture, if you want a posada, in your church or in your home, give us a call. I'll be happy to share part of our culture and our tradition and see how rich it is with, like I said, we read the gospel and how really the Bible and Christ invite us to be hospitals for everyone, to help each other, to be welcoming to everyone. So it's a great opportunity. And I want to say that we start in the Posadas, but all the celebrations, they finish until February 2nd. If we were to do everything according to how the Mexicans do it, we will continue partying until October 2nd, because right after the Posada is Christmas. Right after Christmas is Epiphany. We have the Three Kings coming. We have gifts. We have Rosca de Reyes. We eat again, and we celebrate again. And then the people who have the Rosca de Reyes and have this baby Jesus in there have to do tamales for February 2nd. And then February 2nd, that's when we finish everything with relating to Christmas and Jesus being born. And we start a new phase. So it starts December 16th, finish February 2nd, and Pastor Judge gets 10 pounds extra because he's eating so many tamales all this time. But it's a beautiful tradition, and it's very attached to Christ. It's very attached to Christianity. It's very attached to the love of God from us. So again, if you have any questions, or if you would like to know more, or if you're thinking of making a posada maybe next year, let us know. We will be happy to work with you and have experience this something new in your community. Just put it in the chat and we will be happy to go back to it and respond to it. Y otra vez, si alguien quiere algo en español también, déjenme saber y nosotros con gusto también les podemos hablar en español. Ok. Vamos a la siguiente, Pastor Judge. Quinceañeras. So again, I am speaking about Mexico, but there are many different traditions within the many different cultures in Latin American countries. So this is a quinceañera, comes from Mexico too, and this is a celebration of a young woman, a little girl becoming a young woman. And of course, I want to share this part of the history of this. People will say, well, quinceañera is still a teenager, it's still little, it's still a little girl. It's not an adult yet, or considered an adult yet. But just remember that Mary was 14 when she became pregnant by the Holy Spirit. So it comes from that, because our culture is tied together with what happens in the Bible, what happens in Christianism. So that's why it's very attached. So 15 is welcoming a young lady into a church, giving thanks for being a young woman, now considered a young woman. They usually come to the church with a beautiful dress, and this is an acting also of when Jesus was presented to the church. So we believe that when it's our birthday, we go to the church to give thanks for all the life, for all the years that we have lived and everything that God has given us. So quinceañeras come to the church, dress beautifully, and present to society, present to the church, and say, I am a young woman. We also want them to have a good example of what a woman should be. So we always, in quinceañeras, we talk about Virgin Mary, and of course, Pastor Judge will talk a little bit about the tradition of bringing flowers to Our Lady of Guadalupe or to any other virgin, and just for young ladies to think about how Mary was open to God and how important it is to be open to God in our lives. And then, of course, after coming to church, the quinceañeras, they will go to their home, or they will go to a place to have a party. They will have their first dance with their father and their first dance with young boys. And it's just kind of coming out from childhood into teenage years, I should say, not adulthood, but teenage years. So I have done 2 quinceañeras in Unidad. Unidad was born in 2019, and then 2020 was the pandemic. So we had a quinceañera over Zoom. It was a little bit different. And then just a few months back, I had my second quinceañera, and I will have another quinceañera in January 21st. So if you want to experience how a quinceañera celebration is done, just come to Unidad on January 21st, and you'll see first. You will see how a quinceañera celebration is done. Pastor Josh.
Yeah, thank you. It's been for St. Andrew a really big part of our ministry. We get a lot of families coming to ask for a celebration, which we have the worship service. So traditionally, there'll be a worship service, a misa, and then the party, right? And then so the worship is the liturgical rite would be an affirmation of baptism. It is in our Lutheran Spanish language hymnal. And our service that we use, if anybody's interested in a bulletin, we can certainly provide you with the ones that we use here. In fact, there's been a few predominantly Anglo congregations that have also celebrated quinceañeras, and they have had families also asking them. So we typically for those services we'll have the affirmation of baptism. We'll have also a blessing for the quinceañera. There's other traditions, as Pastor Maria said, the presenting the flowers to La Virgen, and also other gifts that the parents and godparents want to present. So it's really a celebration of life. As Pastor Maria mentioned, the transition in her life. We also do a plática talk with the family. A lot of times we'll do that together with a large group, especially right before the summer, when we will do one almost every Saturday. And so we'll have speakers come in, and it's been a great connecting point with our community, and a great opportunity for us to talk about, what does this transition in life mean for us, and for the parents, and for the young woman. So, and it's a special way for the church to be a part of those moments in the family's life. So.
Yes, and along with the quinceañeras, we have many other celebrations. Like people will bring a 3-year-old young girl or 3-year-old boy to church, and they will have they call it 3 años. And this is just in the Bible. Jesus was presented to the temple when Joseph and Mary brought Jesus to the temple. So it's just reenacting of that. So people will bring their children when they are 3 years old, and all they want is just a blessing for this child. It's a beautiful celebration. We light 3 candles, and we hope that the child will always live with faith, that the parents will bring the children to church so that they can grow in their faith. So that's another celebration that we also do in Mexico. For the quinceañeras, we also present them with the Bible. So it's like Pastor Judge said, it's affirmation of baptism, but we give them all of these resources that they need to continue growing in their faith. So we offer them with a Bible. They bring the candle of their baptism, and they also bring flowers to Our Lady of Guadalupe, if that's the Virgin they have in their church. And that is important because we want the girls to be able to look at Virgin Mary and say, that's something that I can do. That's something that I can listen for God. And I continue growing in my faith by they receiving the Bible, we're inviting them to continue looking into the scripture and continue growing into your faith and continue coming to church, of course. So it's beautiful. It's a beautiful celebration. And if you have an opportunity to go to one and just be present, I think that's wonderful. Also for when if a Latinx person come to you and they say, I want 3 años for my child, you will understand what they want is a blessing for their child. And so you can do it in a Sunday service just after the sermon, that's what I do. I invite a child to come forward with the parents and their grandparents and just a small blessing and talk about how important it is to bring children to the church. Are there any questions so far? No, because I don't see anything in the chat. That's why. So comments? Comments, questions, stories? Ms. B?
Hi, Pastor Rojas, Pastor Josh. This is really wonderful. When I was teaching, we used to do a lot of ofrendas. Moving the first and second to represent the Day of the Dead and the spirits. And we would have our children, to pick a loved one or anyone they held in high esteem. And they would build a lot of ofrendas with the sugar cube of the skeleton head and with representation of the water, the wind, and the air. And they would talk and do a tribute to the people they cared about. So that was wonderful. This is really great. And we also celebrated the Lady of Guadalupe, the Virgin of Guadalupe. This is really wonderful. This is a really wonderful presentation. That's sad, learning more from it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
There is a question here from Seth. It says that I work with a very mixed Latinx community, Mexican, Venezuelan, Puerto Rican, and more. Are there folks in our synod who can help me understand and integrate non-Mexican tradition related to Posada and others, just to keep growing? I think so. We have Pastor Jose, who's from Venezuela. I'm pretty sure that he can share some of his traditions and experiences. We also have a pastor from Nicaragua. We have different pastors from different backgrounds, and I'm pretty sure that they can share with us. Something that I'm adding this year into my Posada is that people in Colombia, they have one day when they light candles on the street to show Mary the way to go to Bethlehem. They call it the Night of Light, something like that. It's very Colombian, I want to say that. But this year, I'm adding that into before the Posada, we're doing a path with candles. In English, I didn't know, but also there is a tradition from Europe, luminarias. But luminaria is a word in Spanish, so I don't know. But this person from Colombia said, Pastor Maria, can we do something Colombian, like doing the lights outside on the street so that Mary knows where to go? And so that's adapting another tradition from Colombia into the Posada. And yes, definitely, we have other pastors, and Pastor Josh and I, we have talked about bringing all these pastors together and continue doing this so that we can have the different traditions, and we're not just focusing one, but that we can really keep growing and open up all of those beautiful traditions that we have in our synod. Pastor Pam? Deacon?
Oh, thank you. Thank you for this really nice presentation. Some of you know that I lived in Mexico for a while, and my husband is from Bolivia. So, we have to merge different cultures and different celebrations in different ways. Many of these traditions being what's called popular religion, not because they're in style, but because they come from the people, is really important, especially here in Chicago, where we have people from, so many, 22 different Latin American countries. And I think it's worth noting to really involve the people of the congregation, because these traditions come from the people. They come up out of a very, very profound devotion to God and to their family, and to telling the stories from Scripture to their children. So I think in a mixed congregation, it's really worth talking to the congregation about their devotion and their experience, and integrate that, rather than trying to do one culture or another culture.
Thank you, Pam. Pastor Josh, anything you want to add?
Well, that's great. And I think, again, we certainly been, as you mentioned, Deacon Pam, for us as a multicultural congregation, these are opportunities to celebrate together and to learn, again, the Posadas being an expression of the Christmas story, and it's really enriched, I think, the faith of people, the whole congregation. So it's really a beautiful thing.
Any other comment or question? I just want to echo what Pam said. When we look into our congregations, the people really tell us if we really ask them, because this thing with the luminaria, this Colombian couple told me, Pastor, can we do this something from Colombia? And so I asked, and I let myself be guided by them. And then I asked the people from Unity, I'm planning to do this. And then they told me, oh, from Europe, we also have luminarias, and this is this and that. So how do we enrich our tradition? We keep adding more and more from the different cultures, and people seem to be enjoying that and participating. For this luminaria, the people are really active. They're creating the little bags, and they're doing everything. So I think it's just giving this opportunity, listening to them and work with them in what they want to do to enrich the culture. Any other comment or questions?
El Pastor José.
Pastor José tiene preguntas o quiere decirnos algunas tradiciones de Venezuela, Pastor José. Nosotros le traducimos.
No sé. Venezuela no se celebra mucha tradición en diciembre. Están en misas, pura misa nada más. No hay tradiciones.
¿No tiene ninguna tradición? ¿Celebración?
Que yo recuerde, no. I don't remember.
Pastor Jose is saying that in Venezuela, people in December, they just go to service on Sunday, and that he doesn't remember any other activities happening. He doesn't remember. No sé si Gaby encontró sí, no sé si el video funciona, quise decir.
Sí, ya puse el video, lo traté y trabajó, so a ver si trabaja esta vez. But yes, our culture is part of our identity. So when you embrace our culture, especially in church settings, it is a very welcoming feeling. So thank you, Pastora Maria and Pastor Josh, for having this. And I'm going to try to play this video. Hopefully it will work. So just give me 1 moment. El que esté compartiendo
Pastor Jess.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Gracias, Gabi. Thank you. This is the celebration we do in November 2nd or November 1st outside of Unity Lutheran Church, outside of Unidad. And this particular day, we had about 37 people. But this year, it was a beautiful day. And we had more than 50 people coming to our celebration. So little by little, people from the community come. This is outside of the church. The reason I do it outside of the church was because during COVID, we know that many of our communities lost a lot of people in the Latinx community. I had one family who lost 7 members in 2020. So it was painful. And so in order to help heal and to know that God is with us, it was a great opportunity to do this ofrenda outside. And people brought their pictures and they wrote their names, fully bilingual. We had people of all colors and of all cultures coming together and having this celebration. So we do it outside, and Gabby came, and we do it outside, inside too as well. And this year we had, like I said, we had more people than before, and it was wonderful because it's creating a new tradition, doing a celebration of all of our the life of our loved ones outside of the church, and we prepare music, beautiful music, and people come together, and it's just wonderful. And so it is growing, and that's. Thank you, Gabby, for sharing that with us. And this year was Crystal with us, so she knows how it was. She was there. Pastor Jose was there too, and we had more than 50 people. And it got dark, but it was beautiful, and so many pictures and so many people coming together to just share a moment. It was wonderful, and they can share if they want, or if you have any comment or any other question. Or if Pastor Josh wants to say something else. We have 5 minutes.
May I say something?
Yes.
Well, I just want to go back to the quinceañera. And I remember one of the young ladies was she's Puerto Rican. So that's also a Puerto Rican.
Mm-hmm.
But it was not only her, but she had a whole quinceañera party. There were at least 7 young ladies and 7 fellows. And I can still remember, they all walked down the aisle. And then there was not a church celebration, but we went out to a rented hall afterwards. There was a band. There was even a band. And it was just a great, great celebration. So it was the person who was the quinceañera person, plus her quinceañera party and fellows, and a big band, and just lots and lots of food and lots of people. So I don't know if all of them have that big of a party, but it was just fantastic.
Yes, well, it's like every tradition. I think it's done one way and then it grows, it progresses. When I was little, the quinceañera used to be 14 girls.
Yes.
They used to be called damas, and 14 boys, chambelanes, and then the quinceañera. So
yes,
and everybody had to wear same color dress.
Yes.
And the boys same color, whatever, 3 suit. And then the quinceañera was and then it got less. It got like 7 and 7, and then it got four boys only in la quinceañera. So like everything, every tradition evolves and changes. But yes, it's part of the. It's just more expensive if you have more young ladies coming. So that depends on the budget too. But in Mexico, I want to say, and I refer to Mexico because I am from Mexico. I would love to talk about other cultures and other nationalities, but I would like to be well informed because I don't want to misinform, something that I know I'm not from. But in Mexico, most of the parents over here, we have to go to rent a hall and have the party. But in Mexico, many parties are done in the community. It's a very community-driven country, or at least it's how I was when I was growing up there. And so the community will pitch in. Somebody will cook rice, somebody will cook beans, somebody will cook this and that, and then the party will take place many times on the street where the quinceañera live, and the young ladies and the young boys will be also neighbors, and everybody will come together and have this wonderful celebration. And so, but like everything else, and the world is turning and everything is evolving, and so it gets to change. But yes, that's part of the tradition. Thank you for sharing that. It brought me memories.
Yes,
We had
I
all these girls
remember
with
too.
the same dress. Yes.
Pastor Maria and Josh, if I can take a moment as we get ready to close out. First of all, to say thank you both. I also want to just make note that this is a result of questions that have come into the Senate office. It's an extension of a workshop that you guys did at Senate Assembly. And so what we do is we try to do workshops in November and December. And this year, one in January. That is a reflection of the questions that keep coming in. So we recorded this as a way of pointing back to it for our congregations and our leaders. I do want to make note to Gabby that we probably want to put the video also. We saw the video, but the sound. So when they're listening to the recording, they won't hear the sound of the video. So we might want to also just add a separate link so that people can access the sound to the video. We also want to say goodbye to Pastor Josh, who a good friend, one of the first persons I approached about joining staff in 2019. He'll be transitioning to the Northern Illinois Senate as their DEM. I just announced this yesterday, so staff, don't be upset. I'm making a little news here. Josh replacement will be Pastor Maria. So we will be welcoming Pastor Maria on staff, and she will just be our chair for our Latinx or Latino strategy. It's a 10-hour position. Those who are unfamiliar, when we don't have representation on the staff, I make the decision to contract to make sure that representation is there, and they typically chair the strategy table. So the two of them have been working so well together, it just seemed like a transition that was inevitable. I want to say thank you to both of you and welcome aboard to Pastor Maria. Wonderful, wonderful job. Thank you.
Thank you, Bishop.
Okay, we're right on time. Thank you very much. Muchas gracias. It's been a pleasure. And like I said, feel free to reach out to me with any question. If I don't know the answer, I'll try to find it. Gracias. Pastor Josh.
Thank you. Gracias.